Hello there, I'm Nathalia Melo, your Unfiltered Fit BFF. Mom of two turned CEO of a fitness empire. Someone who truly understands the struggles of trying to stay fit, sane, and sexy, all while juggling work, life, and motherhood. And this is the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast. Follow along wherever you're listening and join me weekly as I help busy working moms just like you simplify your fitness journey so you can lose fat, regain your confidence, and feel sexy AF. It's time to stop living in the what ifs and hiding from the cameras. It's time to regain control over your body, feel sexy naked, and wear a bikini confidently. People already see you as a super confident woman, but it's time for you to feel the same way too. Come on, let's go. Hello there, fam. Welcome to another episode of the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast. I'm Nathalia Melo, your host. And today we are going to be covering a topic that is being coming up a lot. Have you ever told yourself or asked yourself, or, maybe you're just frustrated and you're like, oh my goodness, I know what to do. I just don't know, I'm not doing it. I already know what to do. I just need to apply it myself. Or I know what to do. I just need more accountability. I just need more consistency. I just need to stop being late. Whatever. I know what to do. The idea of knowing what to do. And here's the funny part. If I had $1 for every time that I heard, oh, I know what to do. I just need to apply it myself. Or I know what to do. I just need to be more disciplined. I legit would be retired tomorrow. I would be a freaking trillionaire because that is the idea that a lot of women are living under. But here is the truth. If knowing was enough, if the idea of knowing was enough, everybody would be walking around with a six-pack, ripped shreds. Everybody would be in their top of their health. And here's the funny thing. We are living in an era where we have all kinds of information at our fingertips. We have ChatGPT, we have Google, we have Pinterest, we have social media, we have podcasts and all of that. And we have all this quote unquote information. But what is happening is that most people don't know how to implement things. And it's interesting. What inspired me to create this podcast right now was a conversation that I had last week with a lady. Actually, two people that I had a conversation. And then this week, I asked in our closed Instagram group, which I'm going to put a link in the show notes for you guys to join because you get behind the scenes for podcast episodes like this one right now. I am also broadcasting it live in the channel. And I asked the ladies in the channel, I was like, hey, what questions do you have? And one thing that I started to see was that although they didn't ask verbatim, oh, I know what to do. I just need X, Y, and Z. I saw a lot of the second part of the conversation. Oh, the consistency, the motivation. I need the push because, my husband tells me that I'm beautiful, but I don't think so. So what should I do? Because I know what to do. All of these things almost become one with starting with the whole idea of I know what to do. But here's the truth though. I don't know one sane person who is like, you know what? I'm going to feel like shit. I enjoy feeling like shit. Feeling like shit is like the best thing ever. Do y'all know anybody who would think this way? So I would go out on a limb here and say that chances are that no, people don't like to feel like shit. People don't like to feel, like they have so much to accomplish and they don't. Yet we keep on telling ourselves this story that we know what to do. But the truth is, if you knew what to do, and this is coming from a place of love, guys, if you knew what to do, you'd have done it. You'd have something to show for it. And it's not just if you knew what to do, if you knew how to do it, because it is one thing to know what to do on paper and how to implement that into our lives. And the problem with this messaging of like, oh, I know what to do, or, oh, I should know what to do, and all of that is because it puts women in a position where they start to beat themselves up thinking that they lack discipline, that they're lazy, that they are, I just can't follow through. And then you start to tell yourself these stories about yourself that you're less than, that you're lazy, that you are all these things when it's not true. The truth is, let's flip the script here real quick. And I'm going to use myself as an analogy. Okay. If you're new around here, I have won the biggest bodybuilding competition in the world, the Olympia, which funnily enough, at the time of this recording, today marks the 13-year anniversary that I won the Olympia. Just a little side note, which is quite cool. But anyway, so I won the Olympia, which is the biggest bodybuilding competition in the world. At the time, I was not married. Me and my husband dated long distance, which meant that I have more freedom. I didn't have kids. I worked a job that it was fairly, flexible. I was bartending at the time, so I didn't have, a 9 to 5. It was hard because it was shift, but it was different, and I made it work with what I had then. But and I worked 3 jobs back then, so it was a very different life. So I could, if I wanted to take a nap, I could take a nap. I was training, 3 hours. I was doing 2 or 3 hours of cardio sometimes a day, which do not recommend. Is fucking stupid, but nor here or there. That's not the point of this conversation. But my point is that I didn't have much else going in other areas of my life. Like my whole life was to train and be fit to win the competition. And maybe for you guys listening to this podcast, it might be that, whenever you were at the top of, like, in top shape, you didn't have as many kids as you have now. You didn't have as many responsibilities at work as you have now. You didn't have a spouse. Your kids didn't have as many extracurricular activities. Maybe you didn't care for an ill parent. So life is different. So if I, Nathalia, were to go back to doing what I did back then to get in shape now, I wouldn't be able to be consistent. This doesn't make me lazy. This doesn't make me undisciplined. This doesn't make me uncommitted. After all, I won the biggest freaking bodybuilding competition in the world. I don't think that you can look at someone who has been at the top of their sport and be like, oh, that bitch is lazy. No. But yet, right now in this season of life where I have children, I have a husband, we have 3 businesses, we have a team, I have a parent whose health is not doing great in a completely different country. Life is different. So it's not that I'm lazy. It's not that I'm undisciplined. And it's not that I'm stupid. I know what to do. Imagine that I'm not a coach. Saying that I know what to do because I won the Olympia or because I got in shape now doesn't necessarily translate to me knowing what to do in this particular season of life right now at this moment. Getting in shape for a vacation, for a show, and or being able to lose 20 pounds but not being able to maintain is not the same thing as knowing what to do whenever your goal is to lose the weight and keep it off. Whenever your goal is to lose the body fat and build muscle and not be thinking about what you're going to eat next and how much you're going to train all the time. They're different things. So the problem isn't that you are, inconsistent. The problem isn't that you're lazy. And the problem isn't that you are this undisciplined, person who just wants to sit on your ass. The problem is that you're holding on to the idea that you know what to do because you did then with a strategy that does not apply to where you are right now. And then what happens is, I had a call this past week with a lady that she recognized, she's like, I'm in a different season of life. I'm 40 now. I own my own business. So it's a different schedule. It's a different demand. And then whenever I was like, okay, so what do you think is preventing? And then she started getting in the weeds. She's like, I know that I have to reduce my calories and I know that I have to exercise and I know what to do. And I'm like, wrong. You don't know what to do because everything that you're saying is very vague language and it does not take into account that right now you are in a different season of life and you might need a different strategy. Yes, you need to be in a calorie deficit 100% if your goal is fat loss, but going about it the same way that you did when you had no kids, when you had no business, when you just had a boyfriend and you didn't have a spouse, trying to apply this now is not going to work. So we're very married to this idea, this vague, oh, I just need to pay attention to my protein. I just need to watch my portions. What the fuck does it mean, watch my portions? Because if I get a large pizza at freaking Domino's or Papa John's or whatever, and I lift and I look at the pizza and I eat it, I'm watching my portions. It doesn't mean that I'm watching it in the way that it should. Oh, I know that I should be eating more protein. I know that I should be controlling my portions. I know that I should exercise more. But how much more is more? How much more protein is enough protein? And then what happens is that whenever you keep on being on this mindset of trying to figure shit out, women get stuck on this all or nothing cycle, especially the high achieving women that normally are more attracted to my messaging. Somebody who is listening to this podcast, I think that because of the way I speak, is very unlikely that we have women who are lazy or who are not high achievers. One of the biggest challenges that we have with the ladies that we work with is to tell them to chill. Like sit the fuck down, because they're always wanting to do more. But if the more was the answer, everybody would be ripped. Six pack, wearing a swimming suit everywhere, feeling confident like a bad bitch, asking for a raise. But that's not the case because they stay stuck on that all or nothing cycle of perceived perfection. Oh, I'm going to go all in from here until, I don't know, we're going on the fall break because then we're going to travel somewhere and I'm going to wear the swimming suit. But then after that, I don't know how to stay consistent because life gets in the way, because life gets busy. Why does that happen? Because you're going all in. And then you have this idea of perfection that you're going to be quote unquote perfect for this short period of time until you get to that end goal. But the way that you got there is not a way in which you can stay consistent. You cannot hold yourself accountable to a strategy that you know from the get-go that you cannot maintain day after day because you know that you're going to get burned out. So the whole idea, I know what to do, keeps you stuck on this all or nothing cycle because you keep on revisiting the things that worked many, many, many years ago when you had zero responsibility and you don't know how to maintain that now. So you're like, okay, and I actually had another conversation with somebody on Friday. And then she was like, oh yeah, I travel a lot for work. So every time that I travel, I know what to do, but like, I just can't do it when I'm traveling. And I'm like, okay, what is it that you do? And she's like, well, I train like 6 to 7 days a week. And then I try to eat about 1,000 calories a day. And I'm like, how are you going to be able to maintain that when you need to be in top performance for your job and traveling everywhere? So it is about changing the strategy so that you can stay consistent with it. And that's when, we have the overcomplication as well. People trying to be too advanced because again, we don't have an information problem. We have an implementation problem. And the problem with the information problem, I know that sounds like a tongue twister. The problem with the information problem is that it gives people this false sense of security and expertise. They're very superficial, but they don't know how that information that they have collected from 5,000 different podcasts, that one was going to say that you should be vegan. The other one says that you should be a carnivore. The other one says that you should do intermittent fasting. The other ones, you have all this information that makes you overcomplicate the process. And then you get what I like to call paralysis by analysis. You're overcomplicating shit. And then you have all this information that you don't know what to do with it. And then you have this false sense of security that you know what to do because you've done it in the past, missing the context that whenever you did it in the past, it was a different season of life. And now you are here stuck, paralyzed, telling yourself that you know what to do, overcomplicating the process unnecessarily, and refusing to get help because you keep on telling yourself that you know what to do. But again, I want to remind you, if you knew what to do, you would have done it. You would have something to show for it. And that's not the case. So the whole idea, I need to be consistent. More times than not, the reason why people struggle to stay consistent is because they're holding on to the idea that they quote unquote know what to do without taking into consideration that they knew what to do for a different season of life, but not for the season of life that they're in now. They think that they just need more information. And then they go from podcast to podcast to from, Instagram page to Instagram page, from ChatGPT prompt to ChatGPT prompt. But there is the little detail that is missed, which is what part of this information galore applies to me. Because remember, a lot of content that you see that feels very, clickbaity, they are there to get your eyeballs, not to help you. And that's why I keep on saying time and time again that the most important thing that we can do to women, especially right now, is because there's so much information, is not to just give more information, is to give context and simplify that information. It's not just about being more, adding more. Like, we don't have, like, I don't know about any of you listening. I don't think I have any more space in my life to add more. So how can we remove the shit that is not necessary and keep the thing that is actually going to move the needle? And that's where the implementation piece of the puzzle comes. And that's where so many people are getting paralyzed, because they have all this information that they don't know how to make it into implementation. And that's when we keep on running back into the information overload, which causes paralysis. Like, I want you to ask yourself right now, how many times have you gone on the internet and then you have this person that says breakfast is the best thing ever, and then you have this other person, oh my goodness, if you have breakfast, you're the biggest piece of shit on the planet. You shouldn't do that because it's terrible and it's going to mess up your body. And you're like, okay, so what is it that I do? And then you have this mindset of like, oh, I totally know what to do, like, because the breakfast, the blah. And then you hear somebody else saying that breakfast is not good. And you're like, okay, but what do I do now? Because I have all this information. And I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how it applies to me. Oh, I know that I need to exercise, right? But before, maybe you had 2 hours to exercise and now you only have 25 minutes to exercise. Yeah, you knew how to get results by exercising for an hour and a half. But now that you have 25 minutes, how can we make this happen? Do you see where it comes the difference between the knowing what to do and knowing how to do it? Because knowing what to do when you have an hour and a half is one thing, but knowing what to do when you only have 25 minutes, just about, and maybe you have to train at home opposed to training in the gym, that is a different set of skill sets. But we keep on collecting information and the tips and the hacks. And then we have that all or nothing trap, where we are perfect, like the person that I was describing before, where they knew what to do, eating 1,000 calories, and they just needed to add more cardio and things like that. You're able to be perfect during the week, but what happens whenever the weekend comes? Because now, different season of life, I mean, my weekend is consumed by soccer games and freaking birthday parties. Just this weekend, I don't know, like, we had 4 soccer games and we were not even in the middle of a tournament with my kids and my daughter playing club soccer. So it's different. I don't have the time like I used to before. Oh, I'm just going to quote unquote overcompensate and do extra here and there. First of all, this is a terrible way to go about exercise because the math doesn't math. But it worked before. Why? Because I had the time. Now I don't have the time. Shit, nor do I have the energy. Last thing that I want to do on the weekend is to be doing extra cardio because I thought that I ate too much. Because again, the math doesn't math and it's exhausting. And I'm pretty sure that many of you listening here don't have that kind of time to just add more stuff. So we get stuck on that all or nothing trap. I'm going all in. And then you crash and burn because you're not able to stay consistent because the strategy fucking sucks. And then you think that you are the problem. Oh, I know what to do, but it's not working. No, you don't know what to do. Because if you did, you would have something to show for it. And now you're stuck on this delusion of knowing what to do and not being able to follow through with it. And then the other problem with the idea of like why knowing is not enough is because more times than not, people start to get stuck and focused on shit that doesn't matter. And what I mean by that is, let me use the example of the lady that I was talking about that has 2 kids, and she just started her own business, and she used to have all this time in the world to exercise, and now that she doesn't have it. I kid you not, like 95% of our conversation was her trying to tell me on how her meal plan needed to change and how her macro split and how, she had to do HIT zone 2 for, and I'm listening to it and I'm like, you're literally focusing on the part that doesn't fucking matter. You're focusing on the trees rather than focusing on the forest. Oh, I just need to do more cardio. And then if I can time and do my fasted cardio, I'm like, no, shh, listen to the words that are coming out of your mouth. And again, all of this is because we have this abundance of information without context that doesn't apply for everybody. So if I'm talking with someone who is a mother and it's busy, like splitting hairs, whether her percentage of carbs or fat should be X, Y, or Z, like it's the least of my worries. Oh, should I do the fasted cardio or do the fucking cardio whenever you can get it in? What is the simplest way that we can get you to just do your workout consistently? And then we'll talk about cardio. Because this same person was like, how many of you here listening or watching in the group here, how many of you have, I just need to add more workouts and make sure that I'm staying consistent and it's like 5 days. And then somebody asks, okay, how many days a week have you been able to train? Well, it's very hard for me to stay consistent because I don't have an hour to work out. I can only get 25 minutes. So I haven't done anything at all. Instead of going 5 days, I just went one day. So this delusion that, you know what to do because the only way you know how to do is by training 5 days a week for an hour, and then you're not able to show up. That is the problem. You're not being able to be consistent because you don't know what to do. And then you're focusing on which zone cardio I should be doing. If it should be before breakfast or after breakfast. And it should be, 10,000 steps and the macro split of the carbs and the fat because my body doesn't shut the fuck up. How can we make sure that we keep the barrier of entry and the friction as minimal as possible? So you, instead of like this idealistic perception of training 5-6 days a week for 1 hour, we can get you to train for 3 times a week, 20 minutes consistently, day in and day out, because that is what is going to drive results. But the idea of knowing what to do based on past experiences that do not fit your reality right now is keeping you stuck because you have the information, but you don't know how to implement that into your life. And chances are that you don't know how to implement this in your life because it doesn't fit. What is this saying? You're trying to put a square in a peg hole, something like that. If it's not, I just created it. I just made it up. It doesn't work. So what is it that is really missing whenever it comes to the knowing what to do piece? Number one, in my opinion, is clarity. Too many women are operating on vibes. Vibes are not metrics. I'm actually I need to get a t-shirt that says vibes are not metrics. Oh, I eat pretty clean. I just need to watch my portions. I work out hard. The fuck does that mean? Like how often? Like whenever you say I eat pretty clean, what do you mean by that? Oh, I eat healthy. What does that mean? Because you can still overconsume calories by eating too many freaking avocados, which quote unquote healthy, but it still doesn't mean that it's aligned with your goals. So we need to have clarity because otherwise we're operating on vibes and we're lying to ourselves that we know what to do when we don't even know where we're going. How are you going to know what to do when you don't even know what it is that you need to, what the goal is? Number two is specificity. And what I mean by that is not about general concepts of I know what to do. I need to do progressive overload. Anytime that I speak with somebody and they start to use a whole bunch of jargons about fitness, it's like, oh, I need to work in progressive overload. I'm like, what is that? And 9 out of 10 times they don't know how to explain it to me. So let's remove the jargon and have precision on what it is that we're doing, what it is that where it is that we want to go. Another thing that is missing is strategy. And in the most fundamental way, What this means is a plan that considers your life right now. Just because a strategy worked when you were like 20 years old in college, where your only responsibility was to get, clean underwear to go to work the next day, if you made it to work the next day, and you had 15 hours to exercise every single day, like just because that strategy worked back then, it doesn't mean that it's going to work now. So you need a strategy that takes into consideration, your kids, your schedule with your kids, the demands with your kids, your spouse. Does your spouse travel for work? And then you become more responsible. Like, how much more demanding is your career right now? Do you enjoy going out with your friends? Is that a big part of your career or your social life? You enjoy that? Where are you as far as, perimenopause or menopause? And again, it's not the hormonal piece is going to be like this big, oh my goodness, everything's the hormones. But knowing that is also going to allow the strategy to change a little bit, to be tweaked to accommodate. For example, if you are, experiencing a lot of sleep troubles because of perimenopausal symptoms, it might be that we need to change the strategy. If your workouts first thing in the morning, that that is not just leaving you wiped out. We might need to reduce the amount of time that you spend training because you're already waking up exhausted. So it really is about just having more consistency with your workouts rather than having that one workout per week that leaves you on the floor. So whenever we're talking about strategies, these are all things, and probably a lot of other things that I'm not mentioning here, they all need to be taken into account. And that's why, the whole idea of like, even like with ChatGPT, there are a lot of human sides of the fitness and wellness and nutrition that needs to be taken into account that ChatGPT won't be able to decipher for you. Like for example, it's very important to you if like your fitness is causing a conflict in your marriage because, I don't know, because you're either like too obsessed about your food and going on date nights is important. Like ChatGPT is not going to understand the human aspect of it, of the importance at the core level. Or, if you're going to a beach and you feel uncomfortable in a swimming suit, like ChatGPT is not going to be able to understand that and help you overcome that all or nothing mentality around the food, around what clothes you're going to wear, around, you know what I'm saying? And last but not least, another thing that is really missing is execution system, something that is going to make your life a lot easier to like almost automate. Because one thing that I see a lot with the ladies that we work with is that there is an overcomplication of shit that doesn't need to be complicated. Like, for example, like meal plans with recipes that have 27,000 ingredients, and you have to spend 10 days in the gym just to make your dinner. That is not realistic for the life of most women that I know and that we work with. But that obsession with novelty is keeping a lot of people stuck. So how can we simplify and systematize the process so that they become easier to execute? Like, create specific deadlines for yourself of how much time you can spend training in the morning, what time, like scheduling consistently you are going to have your workout every single day, rather than just workout whenever the time allows. I promise you, if you're always working out whenever quote unquote time allows, it's making it more exhausting for you. It might be a strategy that worked before because you had all these gaps on your schedule and then you could just do it whenever. But whenever you have all these demands, chances are that it's going to be very difficult to consistently find gaps in your schedule that you can incorporate your workout. So how can we systematize that in a way that it might not be that you get an hour to work out, you might just get 20 minutes. So how can we consistently get 20 minutes? And we need to remove the idea of, oh, my problem is consistency. I am yet to see someone where the problem is consistency. And stay with me here. Consistency is a symptom, not a cause. I'm going to say this again. Consistency or lack thereof is not the reason why people don't get results. Lack of consistency is a symptom of having a shady plan that doesn't set that person up for success to be consistent with. Do you see the difference? Because a lot of times we think that the problem is the consistency. Is consistency necessary for long-term success? Absolutely. But not having it is a symptom rather than a root cause. The root cause is having a shady plan, is having that all or nothing mentality, having that perfectionist mentality. So we need to stop beating ourselves up about the consistency and saying, oh my goodness, I should know how to do this because I did when I was 25 and, I had nothing going on in my life. I was able to do that. Well, I would be surprised if you didn't. So you don't have a consistency problem. You have a strategy problem. You don't have, a knowledge problem per se, because we have knowledge all over the shop. We have an implementation and clarity problem. But our egos tend to get in the way. And it's like, well, I should know how to do this. And women stay stuck forever and ever. There is a difference between knowing what to do and knowing how to do it. These are completely different things. And people are getting confused that the idea, because they got a whole bunch of information from podcasts and because they're trying what used to work, that they know what to do. But the things that they don't know how to implement what they perceive to know to where their life is right now. And I have a saying, I have a saying that is like, information without implementation is mental masturbation. You're welcome. You're never going to forget this, but it's true. If you don't know how to implement, you're just talking problems. You're just, talking about all the things that you want to do. And then and then again, it becomes that mindset piece again. You're planning to plan the plan, and then you start to overthink, and then you're planning to plan the plan to plan accordingly. But then you get so exhausted about planning the plan to plan the plan that then you just don't do anything. And one thing that I like to make an analogy, I love to compare fitness with finance, because I think that they are like fairly similar. I don't think that I need a finance major to say, hey, in order to, build wealth, you have to make more money than what you spend. Ta-da! Imagine going to a financial advisor and being like, hey, there you go. I'm going to do all the things for you right now. So we need to make sure that if you want to build wealth, you need to spend less than what you make. And then that's it. Is knowing that I have to spend less than what I make, does that mean that I know what to do? Yeah, to an extent, I know that I need to spend less than what I make. Fair. But how the fuck do I do that? That is the part of the puzzle that needs, how do I incorporate that concept into my life when, there might be people they're paying student loan debt, or there are people that have a whole bunch of kids after school care or child care, and you have all these different things. So how can we incorporate that bigger, broader concept of knowing what to do on how to do it for the life that we have right now? And that's what is missing for the fitness space as well. And another analogy that I like to use is I want to feel good, and I totally know what to do. I just need to eat less than what I burn. I need to burn more. And then I need to add more cardio. It's kind of like getting in an Uber and being like, I want to go where I'm happy. Okay, where is that? You just go. What is the map? I know what I want, but what are the steps? What are the steps by step that are going to be necessary to get me there? So, you need directions, you need gas, you need to know how to actually drive the car. You need all those things. So my biggest takeaway from this episode today is that we need to understand that knowing what to do is not the same of knowing how to do it. That just because you have no consistency, it doesn't mean that the problem is actually the lack of consistency. Chances are that the lack of consistency is a symptom because you don't know how to implement the things that you think you know. So the lack of consistency is a symptom, is not a cause. I lack discipline. What if the lack of discipline is also a symptom of not having a plan that allows you to show up day in and day out? Because why the hell are you going to wake up and do all these things if from the get-go, you know that strategy is not going to work, because you know that you're not able to sustainably show up to train 5 days a week? Do you see what I'm saying? So all the things that most people think that are the reason why they don't do the thing, because hey, I know what to do. Oh, I just lack discipline. I just lack, motivation. I just lack consistency. Motivation, discipline, and consistency are a symptom. They are not the cause. They are a symptom of having a strategy that does not work for the lives that we have. It is a symptom of not of knowing what to do, but not knowing how to do it, how to implement it. So if you have been saying, "Oh, I know what to do," but your body hasn't changed in months or years, that's proof that knowing what to do isn't enough. I don't know one sane person that is miserable and unhappy with how they look and they're like, you know what? I'm going to stay here because it's fun. I love feeling like shit. It is like my favorite. I am yet to see one sane person that lives like this. So this might be proof that this isn't about discipline. It's not about consistency. It's not about being lazy. It's not about motivation. It's about strategy or lack thereof. And potentially a little bit of ego as well, to acknowledge that what you're doing is not working. And until you are open to being honest with yourself and recognize that I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, you're going to be stuck on the same cycle. And that's the truth. There is no shame. And listen, I'm not saying this because I want you to call me and get help from us. But listen, if you want, holler, I'm your girl. Send me a message on Instagram saying, lean as fuck or AF if you don't curse. So lean AF. I don't know. If you want to work with us, cool. But I am telling you this because I see a lot of women putting pressure in themselves that they should know how to do it just because they were fit when they were 25. Listen, I've had teeth in my mouth for what, like, I don't know, probably 40 years. That doesn't make me a freaking dentist. I've had a vagina since I was born. That doesn't make me a gynecologist. So, the whole idea that just because I've been fit at some point in my life or that I've done something that worked when my life looked completely different, it doesn't mean that you're going to know what to do right now. So I encourage you to stop, collecting all this information and instead commit to having clarity and execute for the life that you have. Because I can almost certainly guarantee a lot of the information that you're collecting, a lot of the, different things that you're listening, they're leaving you more confused and they're overcomplicating things that don't need to be complicated. And that's the sign of someone who doesn't really want to help. They just want clicks. Whenever you ask for help, that person should be able to simplify the process for you, not overcomplicated. And that's something, that we talk a lot about inside the Powerhouse Academy. If you watch to any interview that I've done with members of the program, every single one of them, like last week I did one with Ashley. I did an interview with Ashley. And first thing she said, she's like, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe how simple it was. It was a lot simpler than what I was doing. And that's what's allowed her to stay consistent and lose 15 pounds in 9 weeks while still traveling, while juggling 6 children, while running her business. But if we were to adopt the mindset for someone, for example, like Ashley, of just doing more and beating herself up because she can be consistent and perfect with a 1-hour workout every single, she's got 6 kids. So what is the lowest barrier of entry that we can incorporate right now in order for her to stay consistent? Because what is going to get the results is the consistency. But you're only going to be able to stay consistent if you have a strategy that aligns with the life that you have right now. And that's why the knowing what to do is not the same as knowing how to do it for the season of life that you're in. I hope this podcast has been helpful. Make sure that you leave a review. If you have any feedback or if you have any questions, holler at me on Instagram. The link is in the show notes. I would love to hear from you. And if you want to learn more on how to work with us, send me a message on Instagram with the words Lean AF or apply in the link in the show notes as well. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time. Adios. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. But let me ask you, what was your aha moment in today's episode? I would love to know. You can leave me a comment at the link in the show description. You can also follow me on social media, Instagram. Links are down below as well. And let me know what topics you want to hear more about or who I should have on the show. This is it for today, guys. I'll see you back next week for another episode of the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast.